You read 50 books last year and cannot recall a single chapter. Your brain is not broken. It is actively deleting your life because you are treating it like a cheap hard drive.
Deleting my life? That is a terrifying way to frame it.
But it is the truth. We consume podcasts, articles, and videos all day long. We think we are learning, but if I ask you what you had for lunch on Tuesday, or the main point of the book you finished last week, you draw a blank.
I actually had a moment like this yesterday. I was sitting in a meeting, and I forgot the name of a vendor I have worked with for 2 years. I genuinely thought, am I getting early onset dementia?
That is the silent panic everyone carries. We laugh it off and say, "Oh, I just have a bad memory." But late at night, when it is quiet, we worry that we are losing our cognitive edge.
Exactly.
But the brain is not a storage box. It is a survival machine. It deletes information constantly as a protective mechanism.
Protective? How is forgetting my client's name protecting me?
Because every single day, you are bombarded with thousands of pieces of data. Billboards, social media notifications, emails, background noise. If your brain tried to store all of that permanently, it would literally overload and shut down.
So it acts like a filter.
Yes, it asks one simple question. Is this crucial for survival or immediate growth? If the answer is no, it hits delete. The problem is not your memory. The problem is you never gave your brain a reason to care.
Wait, so when I'm reading a business book, my brain thinks it is useless?
If you are just letting your eyes move across the page while thinking about your electric bill, yes, you cannot remember what you never truly noticed. It is like trying to save a document you never opened.
That hurts. I was actually walking through downtown Chicago last week, listening to an audio course on double speed, thinking I was being highly productive.
Double speed while navigating a busy city street. You fractured your attention into a dozen pieces. Broken attention creates broken memory. Multitasking is the greatest lie we have been sold.
But society rewards multitasking. We are expected to respond to emails during Zoom calls.
And that is exactly why everyone feels mentally exhausted. The human brain cannot focus on 2 complex tasks simultaneously. It switches back and forth rapidly, draining energy. When your attention is split, the brain refuses to encode the information into long-term memory.
So step 1 is simply stopping the delusion that we can do everything at once.
Step 1 is fierce, single-minded focus. Even for just 20 minutes. A deep, uninterrupted 20 minutes is worth more than 3 hours of distracted reading.
Okay, let us talk about the stress factor. I notice that when I am under pressure, my mind just goes completely blank. It is humiliating.
There is a biological reason for that. When you are stressed, your body releases cortisol. Cortisol actively blocks the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for retrieving memories.
Wait, it physically blocks it?
Yes. Your brain shifts into survival mode. It prepares you to fight or run away from a tiger. It does not care about recalling a presentation slide or a vocabulary word. Fear destroys learning.
That explains why studying the night before an exam out of sheer panic barely works.
Exactly. You are trying to force data into a system that has locked its doors. A calm mind is the only mind that absorbs deep knowledge.
All right, so I am calm, I am focused, but I still forget things after a few days. Why is rote memorization so completely useless?
Because the brain hates isolation. Have you ever learned a random fact, repeated it 10 times, and lost it by the morning?
Every time I tried to learn a new language, yes.
The brain works like a dense forest of connections. If you drop a single isolated fact in there without connecting it to anything else, it dies. You must build bridges. This is where understanding replaces memorizing.
Give me an example. How do I build a bridge?
Let us say you learn a new management concept. Do not just memorize the definition. Ask yourself, how does this apply to the argument I had with my team last week? Instantly, you connect abstract data to a real emotional memory.
Oh, that makes sense. It anchors it.
Precisely. And if you really want to lock it in, use the Feynman technique. Explain it out loud, in simple words, as if you are talking to a 10-year-old. If you stumble, you did not understand it. You only memorized the jargon.
I have noticed that. When I try to explain a book to a friend, I suddenly realize I only grasped the surface. The illusion of competence.
The illusion of competence is the enemy of mastery. We highlight text in a book and feel smart. Highlighting is passive. To build memory, you must pull information out of your brain, not just push it in.
Active recall.
Yes, shut the book. Stare at the wall. Force your brain to reconstruct the idea. It feels painful. It feels frustrating. But that physical discomfort is the sensation of neural pathways being forged.
That completely flips how most of us operate. We think learning should be smooth and easy. If it is hard, we think we are failing.
If learning feels too easy, you are not learning. You are just familiarizing. Real memory is born in the struggle.
Wow. Okay, but let us talk about the timeline. I learn something deeply, I actively recall it. But a month later, it is still gone. Why?
Because you are fighting the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. It is a biological law. Within 24 hours, you lose a massive percentage of what you learned, unless you interrupt the forgetting process.
Interrupt it how? By reviewing it every single day? Who has time for that?
No, not every day. You use spaced repetition. You review it after 1 day, then after 3 days, then a week, then a month. Just as the brain is about to delete it, you send a signal. Wait, I still need this. Over time, the brain moves it into permanent storage.
It is like training a muscle. You do not lift weights once for 10 hours. You lift for an hour, rest, and do it again days later.
Exactly. And speaking of resting muscles, we must talk about the most abused aspect of memory retention: sleep.
Hustle culture tells us to sleep when we are dead.
And hustle culture is making people cognitively impaired. Sleep is not a luxury. During deep sleep, your brain physically washes itself. The glymphatic system clears out toxins, while memory pathways consolidate.
Wait, physically washes itself?
Yes, if you sacrifice sleep to study more or work more, you are literally destroying the biological mechanism that saves the information you just learned. Studying without sleeping is like building a house and then burning it down.
That is profound. We view sleep as lost time, but it is actually the time when learning is finalized.
It is the save button on your document. You would never type a thesis for 10 hours and just unplug the computer. But people do that to their brains every single night.
So, to put this all together, my memory is not weak. My systems are weak.
Your memory is extraordinary, but you must respect its rules. Protect your attention. Focus intensely. Connect new ideas to old ones. Force yourself to recall them. And respect your sleep.
It sounds like we need to shift our identity. Stop saying, I am forgetful, and start acting like someone who understands their own biology.
Exactly. You do not have a bad memory. You just never had the operating manual. Once you apply these principles, remembering everything stops being magic. It becomes a mathematical certainty.
That gives me a lot of hope. I am going to try the active recall tonight, and I am definitely going to sleep.
Trust your brain. It is far more powerful than you give it credit for.